What's going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Happy Saturday to all of you. And as all of you know, here in the LLC, the weekends is the best time for me to crank out all of this great content. So as you guys can see by the title, we're going to be covering the guilty verdict of Ryan Routh. He was alleged to have, he was found guilty of attempting the assassination of Donald Trump. So, and on a golf course, while Trump has endless bodyguards around, I don't know why he would try to do that. But either way, we're going to check out a video and then we're going to go to some of the indicted information and look over the case activity for Ryan Routh. And this is what I like to do, guys. I like to look at the court documents. I like to be able to pull up the court pleadings and things of that nature and go over it and share it with you all. So before we get started, make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the Lady Luck Club. Also, consider becoming a member of the LLC. We are currently learning Spanish. And then we're going to, after 3 months of learning one language, we're going to switch over to the next language that you guys vote for us to learn, brought to you by Duolingo. So we have a good time. And sooner than you think, we will be able to go into everybody's chats and speak other languages, and no one will know what we're saying. But I think some of the smartest people in the world are those who take time to learn multiple languages. And that's something that we're doing here in the LLC, one language at a time. Also, at the conclusion of the video, I will share the partnership that we have with Dr. Squatch and how you guys can purchase some products there. In the meantime, I just want you guys to hit that like button and subscribe. We're trying to get to 30,000 supporters by September 30th. 3 days left. 30,000 supporters by September 30th. So we can do it, and I need you all's help. Hit the like button, share the content, and subscribe to the Lady Luck Club. All right, so let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check out the news video here. This is Fox 13 Seattle. I picked this video because they actually go over the charges that he was found guilty on. So let's get to it.
Now to the guilty verdict in a Florida courtroom for the man who tried to assassinate President Donald Trump. Fox 13's Connor Hansen joining us now live from Florida. And Connor, this was a dramatic day in court.
Sure was, Sabera, and it only took about 2 hours for that jury to deliberate before unanimously finding Ryan Routh guilty on all 5 charges. That was followed by a dramatic outburst. Routh even trying to jab a pen into his own neck before being restrained by U.S. Marshals. We also saw an outburst by his daughter, who's been at the trial for the past 2 weeks or so. A Florida jury finding Ryan Routh guilty of trying to...
So I don't know if you guys, heard that. It was a lot of background noise in his video. That's his video, not mine. But he said that Routh tried to self-terminate by jabbing a pin in his neck. And based on the side of the neck, based on the illustration, it was the left side, which means he was trying to go for one of those major arteries, the common carotid. It's sad because, his daughter had an outburst in court saying he's trying to harm himself. And, to see that happening, I don't know what enthused this man to even do this, but it's definitely had an effect on his children. So it's just crazy.
Killed President Trump at his golf course last year. The trial lasted just over 2 weeks. And now Routh has been convicted on 5 federal charges, including attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate and assaulting a federal officer. During closing arguments, prosecutors told jurors there's no doubt it was Routh who was camped out at the golf course with a rifle. Quote, evidence has shown one thing and one thing only. The defendant has
charges.
They rifle. Prosecutors told jurors there's no doubt it was convicted on 5.
So you can see the counts here: attempted assassination on a major presidential candidate, possession of a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence, assaulting a federal officer, felon in possession of a firearm and ammunition. So he had a prior record. He was already a felon. Possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. So he tried to remove the serial number. Jeez.
Federal charges, including attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate and assaulting a federal officer. During closing arguments, prosecutors told jurors there's no doubt it was Routh who was camped out at the golf course with a rifle. Quote, evidence has shown one thing and one thing only. The defendant wanted Donald Trump dead. They say he excessively stalked Trump's location and wrote a rap song about killing the then presidential candidate with a sniper rifle after he was arrested by the FBI.
The narrative here is really, really tight. They presented it in a very, very compelling way.
Routh, who has been representing himself, made a series of unusual requests throughout the trial.
He represented himself? Why? That's so crazy. You know what they say? Who represents himself has a fool for a client. He could have gotten court-appointed attorney. Well, I mean, what did he think was going to happen? He go in there and try to represent himself against the state. Seriously? Yeah, we have to sometimes put our pride to the side and then just realize when we need some damn help. Like, I have to remind myself of that every day, and it's certainly not to this caliber. I'm floored at him being pro se in this type of high profile criminal case against the state in Florida. After you've attempted to, terminate Donald Trump, and you want to represent yourself pro se? What?
Including challenging President Trump to a, quote, beatdown session. He spent the majority of his closing arguments trying to prove there was no intent to kill because a gun was never fired.
I do think we're going to see appeals here in terms of Mr. Routh's ability to represent himself, although he made that choice.
And jurors did ask to see that gun one more time before they made their decision. Now, aside from those federal charges, Routh still faces state charges for terrorism and attempted murder. Sabira?
I mean, even if you
continue to follow
this
that
is a
breaking
separate
news
video.
himself.
So I'm going to go over to the actual document here. Even if you didn't pull the trigger, he does he not realize that the actual charge was attempted murder? It makes no sense. Okay, so if you guys see here, because I like pulling up the documents on it, and this is something that can be found online. It took me a minute, but you can't get this online. This is from the U.S. District Court, Southern District of Florida. This is of course, a federal case. So case number 24-M is in Michael, J is in Jackson, -8441-R as in race, M is in Mike, M is in Mike. It's 8 pages. I'm not going to read it all, but I just wanted to kind of go over the criminal cover sheet and the indictment information. U.S.A. versus Ryan Wesley Routh. Here's the criminal cover sheet here, and it asks a series of questions to ensure that this court has jurisdiction. Did this matter originate from a matter pending in the northern region of the U.S. Attorney's Office prior to August 4, 2014? No. Did this matter originate from a matter pending in the central region of the U.S. U.S. Attorney's Office prior to October 3rd, 2019? No. Did this matter involve participation of or consultation with now Magistrate Judge Eduardo I. Sanchez during his tenure at the U.S. Attorney's Office, which concluded on January 22nd, 23? No. Did this matter involve the participation of or consultation with now Magistrate Judge Marta Elfenbein? I hope I'm saying that right. During her tenure at the U.S. Attorney's Office, which concluded March 5, 24? No. All right, so the next document here is the criminal complaint. So U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida. You guys can see here the case number again, U.S. versus Ryan Wesley Routh. The criminal complaint states the following is true to the best of my knowledge and belief on or about the dates of September 15, 24 in the county of Palm Beach in the Southern District of Florida. The defendant violated, and then they give the 18 U.S.C. Statute 922G and 18 U.S.C. Statute 922K. Possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, convicted felon. Possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. And this criminal complaint is based on these facts. See attached affidavit in support of the criminal complaint, signed by Mark A. Thomas, Special Agent for the FBI. And you guys can see down here, they got the judge's signature as well. Judge McCabe, U.S. Magistrate Judge. And then here's the affidavit where it goes into the information that supports the criminal complaint itself. So they give the intro, and this is the FBI agent that Mark Thomas that drafted this. So this is the affidavit of that agent. So of course he goes through his background. Having worked in the FBI, the Joint Terrorism Task Force. He is a part of a government agency to engage in or supervise the prevention, detention, investigation, or prosecution of violations of federal criminal law, which would be under the purview of the FBI. In this affidavit, he's charging Ryan Wesley Routh with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon in violation of the U.S. Code. The facts contained in this affidavit come from my personal knowledge, training, and experience, as well as info obtained during the investigation from other members of law enforcement. So the FBI works with, local law enforcement, and they may even work with other agencies to get, evidence gathered together. And then the person that is spearheading the actual investigation is the one that brings forth the charges to the court so that the prosecutor can bring forth the indictment. So probable cause is established oftentimes so that, you can go to the court to say, hey, we might need to get subpoenas to do search warrants or get search warrants to do searches to be able to, help aid in the investigation by gathering our exhibits, our evidence. On September 15, 2024, former President of the U.S. Donald J. Trump was golfing at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach, located at 3505 Summit Boulevard. I'm not going to read the whole address. At approximately 1:31 p.m., a U.S. Secret Service special agent assigned to former president's security detail was walking the perimeter of Trump International when the USSS agent saw what appeared to be a rifle poking out of the tree line. The agent fired his or her service weapon in the direction of the rifle. A witness saw a male, later identified as Routh, fleeing the area of the tree line and entering a Nissan Sport utility vehicle SUV. The witness then observed the Nissan leaving the area at a high rate of speed. In the area of the tree line from which Routh fled, agents found a digital camera, 2 bags, including a backpack, a loaded SKS style 7.62 by 39 caliber rifle with a scope. Yeah, I'm not a gun enthusiast, so I probably didn't even say that right. And a black plastic bag containing food. How long had he been out there? A black plastic bag containing food. How long had he been sitting out there? It's crazy. It seems like he planned on sitting out there for a while. He doesn't have food with him. The serial number on the SKS style rifle was obliterated and unreadable to the naked eye. Based upon my training and experience, I am aware that SKS style 7.62 by 39 caliber rifles are not manufactured in the state of Florida. Therefore, I submit that there is probable cause to believe that the SKS style rifle, which was seized from the tree line at Trump International, have previously traveled in interstate or foreign commerce. So now you're talking about bringing weapons across state lines. And that would definitely give probable cause for the FBI to take jurisdiction over this case. The SKS style rifle and other items recovered at the scene are depicted in the image above. Okay, that's real. It's like black and white and grainy. I guess this is the rifle here. 2 bags. One of them had food in it. He had planned on being there a while. Let's see here. So they said, okay, officers from Palm Beach County and Martin County Sheriff's Office located the Nissan as it traveled northbound on I-95. Here's the cooperation that you get from law enforcement, where they put out, here's the make and model and the tag of the vehicle that, needs to be pursued. So the county sheriffs kicked in. They went out. They got the information of the vehicle, and they located it traveling northbound on I-95 at approximately 2:14 p.m. MCSO initiated a motor vehicle stop. The driver and sole occupant of the Nissan was Routh. Shortly after the motor vehicle stop, Routh was asked if he knew why he was being stopped. He responded in the affirmative. Officers noted that the license plate attached to the Nissan is registered to a 2012 white Ford truck and has been reported stolen. So he stole a tag. You just racked up the charges today, didn't you, Ryan Routh? During the course of the motor vehicle stop, law enforcement transported to the scene of the witness who had previously observed Routh fleeing the area of the Trump International Tree Line and entering the Nissan SUV. The witness identified Routh as the same individual she had previously seen entering the Nissan. And so, of course, here they get to the investigation. Law enforcement also discovered a publicly viewable Facebook post from on or about July 10, 24, in which Routh directed his followers to contact him on an instant messaging application WhatsApp. At the following number, database checks indicate that a mobile phone number, phone assigned call number is serviced by T-Mobile. Oh boy. And that Routh is the subscriber. Agents requested T-Mobile on an emergency basis to provide law enforcement with information pertaining to Routh's mobile phone usage. So for those who think that your phone call logs, text messages, your phone records cannot be obtained, if need be, they can get it in an emergency basis. Now, if they have to submit some sort of subpoena for it, they will. But do you really think T-Mobile is going to give the FBI a hard time about something like this? So when you're calling people's phones, trying to cyber harass and cyber stalk them because you think you're somebody, guess what the FBI can do? On an emergency basis, they can get all of your records from your phone company. All of them. So those records indicated that Routh's mobile phone was located in the vicinity of the area along the tree line described above from approximately 1:59 a.m. until approximately 1:31 p.m. on September 15th, 24. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit more here. Got a couple more pages. It's not too long. Review of law enforcement indices reflected that on or about December 2002, Routh was convicted in Greensboro, North Carolina, of possession of a weapon of mass death and destruction. Are you serious? A possession of a weapon of mass death and destruction in violation of section 14-288.8 of the North Carolina General Statutes, a Class F felony. Class F felonies in North Carolina are punishable by terms up to 59 months incarceration. Law enforcement indices further reflected that on or about March 3rd, 2010, Routh was convicted of multiple counts of possession of stolen goods in violation of section 14-71.1 of North Carolina General Statutes as a Class H felony. Class H felonies in North Carolina are punishable by terms of imprisonment of up to 39 months incarceration. So what they will do is pull your record. See if you're a felony, if you had any prior criminal history, and then they consider all of that when they're doing their investigation. They do. Because it goes to show character. It goes to show how prone you are to criminality. I mean, this guy was camping out with food at Trump golf course. How did he get that close to the gate? Shouldn't there be cameras around? Is it something people can just walk up? You just walk up to the gate at the golf course on Trump's property? How does that work? All right, in conclusion, on the basis of the foregoing, your affiant respectfully submits that probable cause exists to charge Ryan Wesley Routh with possession of a firearm and ammunition by a convicted felon in violation of, and they have the U.S. codes here, and further your affiant saith not. And of course, Mark Thomas, a special agent of the FBI, signed off. And here are the bond recommendations. Of course, I think he was held without bond. Pre-trial detention. Yeah. They didn't give him a bond. They just held him. And let's see, here's the penalty sheet. So for the violation, what they go by is a sort of like a sentencing guide. And that's what they utilize to determine, based on prior history and just the aggravating factors of the violation itself, what level or severity the actual violation is found on, how many counts. That sentencing guide helps to determine what the maximum penalty is. Oftentimes they, will give a minimum to a maximum, but the judge could always use discretion if they wanted to. And let's say if it's 15 years, the judge could, add on in another year because of other, factors that might be discovered during the hearing, or could even decrease it by a year or two. Just depends. Typically they stick with the sentencing guide, but if a judge does that, they definitely have to give justification or reason as to why they're changing what was recommended, or why they're not following the recommended sentencing guide itself. So you have violation of possession of a firearm by prohibited person, convicted felon, and the max penalty 15 years imprisonment, $250,000 fine, 3 years supervised release. And then, of course, the possession of firearm with an obliterated serial number, you have 5 years imprisonment, $250,000 fine, 3 years supervised release. So the difference is he could go from 5 years imprisonment up to 15 years imprisonment, just with these two combined. Now, whether the judge decides to do it as consecutive, where you add them up together, or where you have him do the 5 and then the 15, or just give one combined number of years, and if it's like 15, then the 15 years would be for both charges. Those are possibilities and options that the judge would have. But as you guys can see here, this is how this documentation looks when it comes to probable cause, recommended penalties, the cover sheets, just for your educational purposes, and because I'm thorough like that. And that is all I have to share. Oh, let me show you guys the case. So we just looked at the probable cause document. Here is Court Listener. This is a great website if you want to check out federal cases like this. You can see all of the case activity. And as you all can see, the most recent activity here, I just sorted it to the most recent activity was on September 24, 25. And this is a notice of hearing for time change. You got on September 23rd, the jury notes as to Ryan Wesley Routh. Then you have the jury notes here, additional document attached here. This is the unredacted jury note verdict. Let's see. Let's just click on this, see what happens. Oh, hey, y'all get to see what this looks like. Let me pull this up. All right, so as you all can see here, they have the case information here. Do not destroy, of course, because everything is going to be uploaded to the case docket. Jury note. We'd like to see exhibits G times 1, times 2, times 4. G is GX1, GX2, GX4, GX5, 4, 4. So these are notes that you will see like this being handed off from the jury to the bailiff, and then it goes to the court, where they are communicating with the judge to say, okay, we need to look at these exhibits again in order for us to make some determination on, maybe on a particular count, or to help finalize our decision on what the, ruling is going to be, the verdict is going to be. So this is common. you see stuff like that, and they go back and forth. They'll ask questions on these notes. They'll, write down other special requests that they need to see. Let me go back. I like reading stuff like that because it kind of gives you an idea of in real time, kind of what the jury and their role and how they are vital to the these criminal cases like this. They're the ones that's deciding this person's fate, right? So let's see what this one is. This is a jury note. We have reached a verdict. There you go. So you get to see the note the jury wrote to the judge, and this was only after 2 hours of deliberating. So during the 2 hours, they wrote 2 notes that I saw so far. One was asking to see specific exhibits again. I do believe, based on the news reporting video, one of those exhibits was the gun. And of course, here's a second note. The jury has reached a verdict, and they have the date time here. I'd rather they put down the timestamp, but it's the same day. We have reached a verdict. There you go. And this note goes back to the judge. Of course, all of these notes are scanned into the case docket itself. Let's see if there's another one. Hold on a second. So those 2 I was able to click. This is the release of exhibits. I can't see this. I would have to log into Pacer to get it. And I think that would cost a little money. But as you guys can see, some of these documents, here's another note. Let's see what that was. Verdict form. Okay, here's the verdict form. So we the jury in the above caption. I'm trying to see if I can expand this. Okay. As you all can see here. I'll make sure I have it up close. All right. You get the verdict form right here. That's sent over to the judge. We, the jury, in the above captioned case, unanimously find the defendant, Ryan Wesley Routh, as to count 1. And they have to go through each count, guilty or not guilty. So they had guilty on count 1, count 2. If you find the defendant guilty of count 2, please answer yes or no to the following question. Did the defendant brandish a firearm during and in relation to this offense? And they answered yes. As to count 3, guilty. Then, of course, you have to answer these questions for count 3. Did the defendant use a deadly or dangerous weapon in the commission of this offense? Yes. Did the defendant's acts involve the intent to commit another felony? Yes. As to count 4 of the indictment, guilty. Count 5, guilty. So say we all, 4-person signature, printed name, and date. So you guys can see what these verdict forms, the jury notes look like. That is scanned in to the case docket. I cannot click on the actual exhibits. I would have to actually go into my Pacer account to do that, and that would cost some money. I don't know how many exhibits there are, but if it's like more than, I think, 30 pages, something like that, it can be pretty pricey. So if you guys want me to do it, let me know. And of course, you can leave a super or something like that because there's cover the cost of the exhibits to be retrieved on Pacer. And I will be more than happy to do it. So that's pretty much the information I wanted to show you all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I think it's neat to be able to kind of show you guys, some of the documents that go on during these types of proceedings like this. This is a high profile criminal case. And to see, the questions that the jury have and the notes and, their request to want to see additional exhibits. Plus, the fact that Ryan Routh decided to represent himself, it kind of made it an open and shut case. I don't know why he decided to do that, but either way, that is all that I have for this video. Make sure you guys check out the description of the video where you will see Dr. Squatch products tagged. Please consider purchasing some Dr. Squatch products today. And I do receive a commission for the sales of the products. It goes back towards the expenses of the channel. That for StreamYard and Xfinity for the internet and the light bill, which is like $500, something like that right now, is high. So if you guys don't mind, purchase some Dr. Squatch products. They will be tagged in the description of the video, as well as hit that like button and subscribe. Let's get these subs up to 30,000. I appreciate you guys for your support. And until the next one, Lady Luck Club out. Deuces.